Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshop. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. It's been a while since I've done one. Uh, the last episode I recorded after my surgery for my cochlear implant, and shortly after that I got an inner ear problem, either an infection or swelling, and I was dizzy for almost 2 weeks. So I'm back in the shop here, but it's the first week in December, and I only had that one day in November that I recorded, and as a consequence, I missed Brady's birthday for Papa's Workshop. We did a FaceTime on his birthday and did that, but we didn't have a Papa's Workshop birthday for Brady. So anyway, we're ready to get started here. Well, let's check in with my assistant. She's been bugging me to be down here. Every time we walk down to the basement, she runs right in here because she wants to go to work. It's got nothing to do with the treats she gets. Let's check in. She is. Are you ready? You ready for action today? Want to get a little treat? Yes. There we go. All right, we're going to get to work for a change. All right, little update on my implant. I got the exterior part here. See, it just got this little, this has the microphone and the processor in it, and then it transfers it. This is just held on magnetically on my head, see? That's just held there, and it's working really well. I'm already hearing better than I did with the hearing aids. Everybody still kind of sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks, maybe not quite that high now, but it's going to get better. So I'm really excited about that. All right, today we left off where we're supposed to put the chamfers. These little 45s on both the sides and on the blade parts here. So we have to on these ones here, we've got to do that same thing. But before we do that, I think I'm going to do is put the on the sides, on the inside, between these two, right? We got just a plain one that's going to go in the back, and then our shaped one and goes in the front. So between that has to be something for the drawer to run on, so the drawer runners. So that would go there like this. Now, traditionally, they might have just nailed that on right there, like across that, and that today, so that sounds like it's kind of a crude way to do that, but the nails on the using cut nails that they would have had are far superior to the wire nails that we use today. They hold better, and it does allow the board to move a little bit. That's the other thing, is that the grain is going this way on this board, but it's going this way on this board. So this side is going to expand from the driest winter to the humidest summer. Something this size, I'd have to look it up, but it's probably close to 1/4 of an inch. This probably won't ever see those maximums with our modern day heating and cooling systems, but you still have to allow for some movement. So you can't just glue and screw this on. Something's going to have to give. And what you'll see a lot of times with a solid board like this is that it's going to crack because somebody's designed it and tried to hold it rigid, and it shrinks. It's got to give, so the board cracks. So we got to allow it to move. So we can't just glue and screw it. So we could use the nails. But I prefer a more elegant system. I'm going to use the mortise and tendons, so I have to put tendons on the end of this, and then of course we've got our mortise is already cut. So when this is in there, that it'll go between that. And I'm also going to put a little shallow dado across there that this fits into, and that helps. It just locks everything in. It doesn't take much to do that. It just locks everything in. I think it's a better, elegant way. And then the only glue that these runners will have is just a little bit in the front mortise. Nothing along the sides and nothing on the back mortise. That'll just keep that runner flush against the front, and as the sides expands, it'll move out the back. All right. So the quickest way to do that dado is I'm going to put. Let me get you a different view here. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put one of these. One of these in here like this. And these are the rear ones, and that's in its correct place. But I'm going to use just one of the other ones because the dovetail's centered. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use that as my guide. So I got these two boards. What I'm going to do is just clamp them to the table like that. It looks like my side's got a little warp in it from being sitting so long. I'll just use clamps on the front here. All right, so to make sure they're tight against that board, so what we'll do is just, all right, so those tight, and then take these out. So now I can use this router bit. It's a shallow, just a shallow cutter. It's only 1/4 of an inch wide, and the bearing is the same size as the cutter. So we'll just go in with the router and go down 1/8 of an inch, and then that'll just rub on the side and then go back, and then we'll have our slot. So we'll need to do that on all four. There's 4 places on each side, so we need to do that 8 times. So let me go get the router. All right, well, I had to change things a little bit. And I went to set up the bit on the router. I would only be right to do an 1/8 inch slot. I'd only just barely be touching that thin plywood. So I got 2 thicker runners, and I got the depth set up. And I'm going to go ahead and leave these uprights in there. I can get close to the end. It's just that they moved a little bit when I tried to pound them out. So I think I'll just leave them like that, and then we'll go from there. All right. Get these off of there. There you go. Got at that slot, and these should fit right in. Yep, so just like that. So that'll really lock it in place. So I have to, part of the reason I want to do that now is that's going to be where that 45 has to end up. So I can just make that, scribe that line all the way out. And then I'll have to do some handwork to make these ends. But all we got to do that is 7 more times. All right, we got them all cut. So the next thing I want to do is extend those lines, this edge, all the way out to the front, and just back that far on the back. And the easiest way to do that would just take one of the pieces that's going to fit in there, like this one, and then take a knife and just scribe a line without taking a chunk of wood off. And I'll do the same in the front. In the front, I want to go all the way to the edge, because that's going to tell me where the 45 needs to end up. So and the scribe line is finer than a pencil, plus it gives me a place for the chisel to register. The chisel can actually, to get this slot the rest of the way in, the chisel will just flop right in that line. Let's see if you can see that. I don't know if you can see the scribe line there, and at the top. So I got to do that on all of them, and then I'm going to take another router bit. This has got a 45 angle bit with a very small bearing. And it is just enough to fit in that slot. I don't know if you can see. It will fit in that slot. The bearing will ride on the dovetail edge, and what I want to do is get close to where the 45 is. I don't want to go too deep. I just want to go, I'm going to get most of that material out of the way, and it'll be at a 45, and then these will be ready. And I've got this, just a piece of wood that I've been using as my setup block. Has a piece of sandpaper on it, so I can clamp it right up the edge. And then this has a 45, and I can use that as a guide to actually do the final cuts with a chisel. So let me mark the rest of these, and then we'll do the router. Then we'll be ready to do the dovetail on these guys. All right, well, I got that all done, but I goofed one up. So here's what the... See, we've got our 45s, so that's close to being done. If you can see close, the scribe line is just a hair beyond that, so we've got a little bit of trimming to do. But here's what I messed up right there, that little chunk. So all I got to do is I need to come up with a piece and just glue it back on there. Make it a deeper cut probably, and then glue a piece on there. So those things happen. I mean, it could have just torn out. You know, can't always predict. So I got to come up with a piece for that, and then we'll start on the blades fronts. And the first thing we have to do is cut that dovetail. Right, but it's only part way. So what we're going to do is just make it that deep, this deep right there, just only that to where the 45 would start. And that's done with the router bit, cuts on one side, you flip it, and then you cut the other side so that it's centered. So what we have to do is get that measurement and set the router table height for that, and then on a test piece that's the same thickness, run it and flip it until we get it so that it fits into that dovetail. And I did use this. This is what this piece here is for. I've got it cut away here so I can test fit the width of the dovetail, this part here. So once I get that refined and on the table, then we can worry about cutting the 45s on these guys. But first we got to get that dovetail thing. So I'm going to take a little time out and put a patch on that. All right, I'm ready to do this little patch. See, I've just cut a straight piece off of there. It's the thickness of the bead, and I'm just going to put this little piece in there, just like that. And then when the glue dries, we'll cut it all, and it'll just disappear. So, like I said, mistakes happen, or accidents happen, and you're gonna have to do things like this. So it's not really a big deal, even though this is in the front. I mean, I'd rather it not happen, of course, but it isn't a huge problem. And I worked this piece on the end of a long board and then just cut it off. So little pieces are hard to get all in there. So all right, so we got to get that right there. And I'm going to use binding tape. This is it's a little more rubbery than regular masking tape, so I can stretch it over the top of that, and it will hold that just fine until the glue dries. That's all there is to it. Here we are at the router table, and we're going to put the dovetail on the ends of the blades. So we're going to put the dovetail, so we're going to make a pass, and we're going to flip it and make another pass. So this is my jig. Bounce on that fence, and we'll just slide it on there. So there we are. So we got that dovetail. I used a test piece to get that depth right, the height of this, and then the fence will determine that. So I need to do that in the other ones, and then we can do something about the 45. So we got all of those cut, and what I'm going to do now is I've got just a V bit, just a 45 V bit, and we're going to run them across, and we're going to cut just that little chamfer on both sides. Again, I'm trying to get close. I'm not trying to get a final thing. We'll get it close, and then we'll fit them by hand. But this will get me a good start of what we need to do. So I've run the test piece through there, and I got it all set up. So it's just a matter of gliding that through. We got the 45. It's not quite all the way down yet, but that's going to get me close. So I got to do that on all these, and then we can sit and do it by hand. We are back at the bench. So I got to fit these by hand. So I've got this jig with the 45 on it, and what I'm going to do is get so I can put this test piece in there. So I got to adjust the 45. It doesn't, almost fits, but not quite. So I'll do that. Get so this fits in each one of them with using this and a chisel to go 45. And when I got all those done, then I go back with the specific pieces and trim it so this fits in. That's all handwork. Nothing much to see there. It's just a matter of getting it. You want it to be as close to perfect as you can, because that's, any gaps will be visible. So that'll probably finish the day by the time I get that all done. Okay, here we are, the last one. I saved this. This is the one I put that little patch in. It's right there. So this is the last one. All the rest of them are done. You see, I've extended the dado out to the edge on each of these, and the ones in the back as well. And I need to extend the dovetail and that out to this line right here is where the two meet. So I'm going to extend that out and then get this till this fits, and then we'll test fit our piece, and then we'll call it an episode.